to the Unlock Your Blocks podcast. Have you ever struggled to be more visible out there? Maybe you've struggled to take chances, to put yourself out there professionally or even personally. My guest today, Munira Zahabi, is called the Niche Navigator, and she helps her clients to put themselves out there so that they can put their best foot forward and not allow their big accomplishments to go unnoticed. She's widely known as the Niche Navigator, is an accomplished author, consultant, and marketing strategist who helps entrepreneurs find their ideal clients and amplify their brand using podcasting as a powerful visibility tool. As the author of Invisible No More, Transform Guest Appearances into Marketing Gold for Coaches and Entrepreneurs. Isn't that a fantastic name, by the way? You need to get this book if this speaks to you. Munira shares her expertise in leveraging podcast guesting to establish authority, connect with the right audiences, and grow thriving businesses. Her book and coaching programs focus on uncovering unique niches, crafting compelling messages, and turning podcast guest appearances into strategic opportunities. Through actionable strategies and tailored coaching, Munira empowers her clients to give their business a voice, making podcasting a cornerstone of their marketing strategy. So the reason I wanted Munira to come on the podcast today is because, number one, she's a fantastic podcast interviewee. She's a great guest, and she also has her own podcast, which is fantastic. So you should definitely check it out. We will have all of those links in the show notes. But Munira has a passion for helping people be seen. And one of the things that she and I talked about in a prior conversation when we were getting to know each other is the challenges that come from believing that you don't necessarily have something that you should be shouting about, even when you really do. So she helps entrepreneurs bring their businesses to the forefront and talk about the things that they've done in a way that matters and brings it across to others. So Munira, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm really excited for what you have to say, not only to the entrepreneurs in the audience, but also to everyone who has overcome hard things to go after something that really speaks to them. So I wonder if you could share a little bit about how you got to where you are today, because I know it's not been a point A to point B journey. And I would love for you to share that with the listeners.
Thank you so much, Elyssa. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on my show, and greetings from Chicagoland, everybody. That's my signature line when I first start my podcast. So I've decided to use it on all appearances. But thank you for asking me that question, because what happens, most people have a gold mine sitting in them, but they don't share it. Most people go to a networking event, but they don't share what they're doing. They'll say, I'm in accounting, or I'm a healer, or I am a graphic artist. But if you look on Fiverr, I challenge you to go look on Fiverr, because there's a lot of things you can see. If you just say book cover artist, and you'll see thousands of people out there doing the same thing, but each one has a different genre. Some people do children's books, some people do romantic, some people do memes and stuff like that. So there's a whole big genre out there, including business, right? But why is it then you won't niche down? And when you niche, so when I meet people, it really frustrates me because they don't tell me what exactly do you do. And the reason I found is that people don't do that is because they don't want to feel like they're bragging. They feel like it feels like I don't want to tell them more. What if they know more? What if somebody copies my idea? That's another thing. Why should everybody know what I am doing? And this is self-sabotaging ourselves. It's just, don't do that. Tell people what you are doing, because you don't know that that person might know somebody or have a client who needs your services. So if you're not careful and you're not talking about this, you're losing out on opportunity. And
Absolutely.
This is what I did for the longest time. See, I grew up, and I'm dating myself, I grew up in an era where children were seen, not heard. You could not talk to your parent and ask them questions while somebody else was talking. You were just a shadow. And that was, I think in their way, that this was in that era, it worked. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was at my son's house, and my granddaughter was really upset because she had received some slime. She went to a birthday party and she had some slime. Now, the person who made the slime or whatever, this slime was getting everywhere. It was sticking everywhere. So mom said, I don't want you to use the slime. If we are not outside, you can't use the slime. And it was raining. So she got really upset because slime went everywhere. So mom decided to pull it off her hands, her hair, her clothes, the dining table, the dining chairs. She took everything. And what was happening was not only my granddaughter was doing it, her brother was doing it too. So they was flying everywhere. So mom had to start cleaning up on everything, and she threw out the slime. She just got it. And that made the kids very upset. And, it just went one thing to another. And I'd never seen my granddaughter. She's the sweetest person ever, but she was really upset. It was pent up anger that just erupted. And I never seen her that way. And I was just really, really shocked. See, in my era, we never did that. But now it's okay for children to do that. So if it's okay for an 8-year-old kid to talk about their feelings, why are we as adults not talking about our business the same way? Aren't you passionate about doing what you're doing? I had a lady that I helped with. My customer was the cupcake lady, and she did. I met her at a grocery store. She was sampling out pieces of cake, like you get at Costco, and she was really upset about something, and she said in a very rude tone, she says, "Everybody walk away. I'm gonna these things these cakes will be ready in about 10 minutes if you want to come back." And her tone was really bad. So I hung around and I said, "So what's going on?" And she goes, "I make better cakes than these frozen ones." And I said, "Oh, then how come you're not making cake?" And she goes, "My mom said that there was a bakery around at each grocery store, and there's one around each corner. So why do I need a bakery?" And I said, "You don't need a bakery. You don't need a store. You can just make that. In fact, I'm here to give a order for 12 cupcakes, large cupcakes. If you are telling me that your cupcakes are healthier and you make them better, then I want you to put your mouth where your mouth is and show me what you can do. I'm here." And she goes, "Why would you buy from me? You don't know me." And I said, "I don't know the person in the corner also in the bakery. So why am I going to trust them compared to you? It's the same thing. You work here and I know where you work." So she made, we had a good argument, and she kept denying what I was telling her. And I said, "Well, if you don't want the business, that started a good relationship, because she made those cupcakes and they were healthy. They were amazing cupcakes, melt in the mouth, right? And I didn't want the icing. I just wanted them to do the whipped cream inside, So I told her what I wanted, and I said, can you do this for me?" I gave her a $20 upfront purchase. And I said, "This is what I'm going to do. I'll pick it up on Friday at 4. Are you going to be here? Meet me in the parking lot and give me your phone number." That's what I did. I did business that way. And I think something in her shifted because I challenged her. And the fact is, she started at the end of all of this, after a year and a half, she had her own warehouse. She had 5 kids. She didn't need to go marketing. She could use her kids as marketing tools. And there's a way to do that too. The idea is you don't have to make wedding cakes. You don't have to make birthday cakes. You can make just cupcakes and make money. So why are you not telling people that you did that? Everywhere she went, she would have cupcakes, little tiny cupcakes, bite size, just letting people taste her stuff. She did it at the store. Of course, the store was providing all of that, the materials that way, but she would have to do it this way everywhere she went. Literally, every kid that had a friend who had a birthday got a cupcake. Every time she went to a school and they had parent teacher talks, she took little cupcakes for everybody. And she made sure she asked the teacher, "Can I be the first person?" And then she would bring a whole Tupperware of little cakes, so then parents would taste it. This was her marketing tool. And all her kids' friends and their parents became her customers. And it grew from there. So the thing is, you have to tell people. Now, she used cupcakes, and everybody likes little cupcakes, and especially when they are little cute little ones that you just put in your mouth, and it's not cut up. It looks really nice. But the fact is, most people don't talk about their business. When I was starting out, I'm the niche navigator. I didn't become the niche navigator. I started, what do you do? "I'm a coach." "What kind of a coach?" "Well, I teach people business." "Really? What kind of business?" So I had to, people would pull this information out. And I thought, why am I not just telling them up front? You have a 30-minute spill. Everybody talks about have your 30-minute spill done. How are you not telling people what you are doing and how you are doing it and why you are doing it and whose life you can transform? So all of that takes a lot of courage. But people self-sabotage because they don't talk about the business. So I ask, does your business have a voice? And some people look at me like my business is a brick and mortar, doesn't talk. Duh, you are the person who's going to talk about it. So talk. Talk about what your business is about and how you got there because people really are genuinely interested.
Absolutely. I love everything you just said. And I love the cupcake lady. First of all, my mouth is watering now. Second of all, what a great, I mean, such an unexpected turn of events. You're just hanging out at the store. And then, you just talk to this lady and she is irritated because she makes better things than what she's serving there, but she doesn't know how to market herself. And she's been told, hey, there are so many other people out there in the world that do that. There's no point in you doing it. But I love that you empowered her and that it became a whole thing for her. How beautiful is that? So I would love to know what do you think is the reason that people, like for you specifically, when you first started out as a coach, what do you think is the reason that you didn't just come right out and say it? This feeling that we don't want to brag, or this feeling that, "Oh, I don't have a lot to say." And especially having grown up in the era, because I think there are many of us who grew up in the era where children are seen and not heard. And one of the things that I help my clients with is dealing with that inner child part that got told what you have to say isn't important. There are other people that will say it better. You're not good enough to be speaking about this, or you just don't have any business speaking up. So, what do you think it was for you? And what do you think it is for your clients that kind of stops you from, or used to stop you from saying what you're really passionate about?
See, I think first of that is fear, right? There's one fear out there that what if somebody copies my idea? Hello, nobody out here. So that was my biggest fear. What if somebody copies my idea? And I had gone through a lot of certifications. I have so many certifications that, it allows me to coach. But then I went through some of these programs. So I heard this when one of my mentors was talking about it. And he said, nothing is new. Everything you are using, you are learning, everything has come from somewhere. I mean, even Socrates, even, the prophets, even Adam, even he was the first guy out on earth. That idea was there. So we are copying his ideas. So if he was alive now, he would say, you know what, all of you start paying me some fee because you're copying all of my ideas, and that's the truth. How we present it, right? Like you go to any grocery store, you'll get a cupcake there. You will, regardless of who made it. The bakery made it, somebody shipped it, somebody there, you can get a cupcake. How do you present? How did this woman present it? I mean, none of our clients went to the grocery store to get it. She went to the people, right? She started giving the teachers a cupcake. She gave the headmistress a cupcake. It was Mother's Day. She gave everybody a cupcake. But the idea was first in her head was, I can't afford it. That's another thing. Price. You see, I can't afford it. I mean, if I'm giving out a cupcake, how am I going to make money? Well, if you are going to, let's sit down and make a list of how much money you're going to spend to make how many cupcakes. Well, if you spend 3 eggs and this and this and this, and your ingredient list is $10, and you give away $10, can you make $100? It took a while for her to understand because what was going out is what she could see. And the thing is that she couldn't understand the fact that I need to realize it in order to receive, I have to give. So that's the other thing. So that was my fear too. What if somebody steals my idea and then I can't afford that? And then the third one was, I don't want to tell everybody because then it looks like it's brag. Why is it bragging when you're talking about something? I had somebody about 4 years ago, I had a young man on my podcast and he was really, really passionate. I never do a first interview with anybody. I just ask people to just book a date and just come on the podcast. And he was one person, he was talking about how numbers in your business can help you. And he was very awkward in the beginning and he could not get the words out. And first of all, this was his first interview. He was just very, very scared. He couldn't talk about this. And I realized that as a podcaster, I realized what he was doing. But because I had seen some of his work, what he was sharing, and I said, okay. So I started asking him not things in his personal life or how did you get into this or nothing. I started asking him questions about the work that he was doing. And his demeanor changed so fast. He started talking about numbers and how you can do this, and you have to open up a Excel sheet and do this and this and this, and how else can you be accountable for the money? And how do you keep revenue streams intact? And all of that. And he was so knowledgeable on the subject. The passion came out when you're talking about that stuff. When I started asking him about how did you jump into this business or how did you figure out your niche or something, he was so lost. He didn't want to answer any of that stuff. But he kept going like a speeding bullet train when I was just asking him about the things. So if you're passionate about stuff, talk about it because it shows everything that you are talking about shows on your face, it shows in your eyes, it shows about the excitement. When people talk to me about niches and talk to me about visibility and marketing and podcasting as the biggest thing, when I talk about that, it's like, oh my God, I've put 8 years, 9 years this year into this, what I'm doing, and I have learned so much. I can share so much knowledge. Let me just give you 3 little tips. And I share that. And when I share that, people know that I am a genuine person because they don't want to know, okay, because let me just tell you, I started out in the retail, then I went to school and became a pharmacy technician. Nobody wants to know that. What is it that you are doing now that can help me get to the next step is what people want to know. And
Yeah.
that is more important. Nobody
Yeah.
cares. I mean, I went to pharma school. Yes, I learned a lot of business stuff there, but what I did there doesn't reflect what I do now.
So what made you decide to make the switch? So you worked as a pharmacy tech for a while, right?
I did. I worked. Oh, I did. I got my master's degree. So what happened was I got my master's degree in healthcare management, and I thought that I could own the world. And I wanted to go out there and just make changes. Had I stayed where I was, I would have got a very good pension plan. So you have to weigh your options. I didn't have anybody to give me good advice. Becoming a pharmacist was not in the cards because I couldn't afford it. Money was a problem, and I was raising my 4 kids. And they were at the age that were going to college. So who goes to college? I mean, I was doing college with them too, but I had to do something that allowed me to stay grounded at home and couldn't go out of town to go to a pharmacy school. So all of those things played into, they played into the circumstance. But when I got my master's and when I got my master's that year, my son went into college, he's my last born. And I thought, okay, you know what? I need to make a switch. And I thought I could conquer the world. So then I worked for a Fortune 17 company. And it was wonderful because it was my dream company. I worked very well because I used to go into hospitals and help patients with diseases that can't be cured, like cancer, immunosuppre,
Oh,
how to say it.
immunosuppressed. Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
immune diseases on all of them. So they need these medications that are very, very expensive to get. And some people had to, sell off their homes and things like that. But there are ways you can get these medications for free, and you can marry patients to the medications, and that allows the hospital to then dispense the medication for a small fee that the insurance will cover, and then the medication is free. So if you've ever seen ads like AstraZeneca can help to get your medication, it's that programs. So I had to learn a lot of programs, and we went into hospitals to see how many people we could help. And we did that for 7 years. I did that. And then at the end of my region, I was ahead of the largest region. And the reason they kept giving me more regions and hospital systems, I didn't work with one certain hospitals. I worked with systems. and we implemented these programs. The reason they did that, because one, I was single and I didn't have kids at home because everybody was out of the house. So I could travel more and anywhere they wanted. So I worked with hospitals like Johns Hopkins and their pharmacy department, and HSHS in Chicago, in Springfield here, Miami Baptist. I mean, large hospital systems, not and the systems, and all of these hospitals that are under this umbrella. And I was very successful. My region was doing such a wonderful thing. And then one Sunday evening, we got this email saying that you need to be on a call at 6 o'clock in the morning. And we were laid off right there. So that's what happened. And it's like your future is sealed because somebody else took care of it. Now, along the way, as I had gone through my pharmacy and I had moved into corporate and everything, along the way, I met a lot of interns, a lot of pharmacy technician interns, pharmacist interns, people who were just looking for a job, trying to figure out their lives and, just trying to live a good life. And I would help them figure out what they are good with and then find somebody who was willing to do wanting to go to dentist school became a pharmacist. Somebody who was becoming a doctor became a lawyer. Somebody became a doctor, but she specialized in chemotherapy, became an oncologist. Somebody who had a dream to be a surgeon, but just stayed, internal medicine doctor. So all of those things played into this thing. I worked with a lot of people, and I didn't know I could get paid at that time, but I learned this once I got laid off, and I was like, now what do I do? And started looking back at all of the emails that came through, because once I got laid off, people started sending me emails saying, we miss you, and they looked me up on LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, now I need to do something where I can impact other people's lives. So that was
That's
how I got
incredible.
in.
The relationships that you made just because of who you genuinely were, then you kind of got that poured back into you after you got laid off because you had poured into them and then connected and been very genuine, and then everyone misses you. I mean, that the genuine relationships here, I think, is the takeaway. How beautiful that is, that your natural way of being just attracted these relationships, these connections, and then they found you, and then that ended up being something for your next chapter.
It's amazing how relationships work, doesn't it? It's like,
Yes.
I never knew they would just come back, but they were like, oh, we just heard you got laid off. Oh my God, is there anything we can help with? And not only the people that I was working with, the directors of pharmacists that I had worked with, the people, in high posts. Any point I could have asked them, I want a job, and I would have got it. But I was like, do I really want to continue this again? And then after that, I had moved to Illinois and married a man who was not healthy. I didn't know that at the time, and who had a lot of health problems. So then I became his primary caretaker. So I went from corporate to stay at home taking care of a very sick man, and it became my life. But so this business allowed me to keep going, because this and I then what I did was I started asking them, how did I help you? What did I do for you? I mean, what exactly did I do for you? Could you tell me that? So we would have conversations, and at that time we didn't have Zoom, but we had Skype. And so they would get on the calls and tell me exactly what I'd done for them. And just like, wow, I didn't know that. I mean, maybe I said something good to them, maybe I didn't. There were nurses at the hospital I had worked with who would just sent me a message and saying, or they had found my number and they sent me a message saying, you know what, we'll miss you. You changed my life. Because, and I was like, I don't even know what I said to you. Can you tell me what I said? And it was really impactful, because when I put things down and tell it down everything, I realized that I had a knack to talk into people. And that made my heart swell with pride. And I was like, okay, if I can do it for this many people, how many other people can I impact?
I love that. And the initial process of starting a business. So for anybody who's listening, if you've ever thought about starting a side hustle, or, maybe going into business for yourself or doing something like this, those first steps really involve figuring out, how are you already operating in the gifts that you have? what does it look like? And maybe you're not sure. And I love that you just had, Munira, that you just had people volunteering the information. You changed my life and you did this for me. And this is what you said. And it all impacted me this way. I mean, that's just such a gift. And that was what the process that I went through, that my business mentor took me through in the beginning. What is it that people come to you and saying, hey, can I pick your brain about this? Or hey, what do you think about this? What are people asking you for? And when you can kind of get some clarity around that, it can feel really, I mean, for me at least, it felt very impostery. It's like,
Right, right,
I don't think that's really special. Everyone does that, like that's
right.
not something, doesn't everyone help you the way that you're saying I help you? But it's so we can get into that. On this show, we talk a lot about procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing, and imposter syndrome. And then that negative self talk can just come right in and say, well, you don't really have anything unique to say. There, you didn't actually do that much. And so the fact that you were able to really listen and make those conversations happen and kind of gather, I just kind of picture like you're gathering a basket full of information in those conversations,
Well,
right?
you had to say that because you know what happened was I didn't know this guy could do this, right? I didn't know this. So I was looking and then I was like, I need to go help people out because I was in a marriage for 24 years and I still had connection with my ex-husband because he was my kid's father. And I still had this thing, we would have disagreements and everything. We were just better, far apart, better than being close together. But I survived for 25, 4 years. We had a relationship from marriage to death. He died also, but 32 years. 32 years we had that relationship. But the thing was, I was trying to figure something out, and I met somebody on LinkedIn. I don't even remember who. And he said, let's have a conversation. And we got on Skype and we were talking. And he goes, when you say you've gone through this, have you ever reached out to the people that you've talked to, worked with, whatever? Have you just go talk to them, And that was his idea. Just go listen, talk to people because you can't just sit there and analyze things yourself. So somebody has to give you that idea. And I said, okay, I'll go do that. And because my thing was I was going to go help women. I'm going to help women stand up. Did some things that in my life that allowed me to stand out in the community that I was. Yeah. Divorce is a no-no. It is there, but people look at you funny. They don't accept you after you're alone. You don't know if you fit in properly. So all of those things I went through and I was like, okay, now what do I do? How do I do this? And he said, if you really want to help women, you need to go look in your past and see how many people. I mean, just go talk to the people. So I talked to the pharmacists I had worked with, and we had a very good team when I was at the hospital. And the minute I left, my boss left, everything else fell apart. We had all new people, and it's still, even to this day, people who work there that started with me and are still there, they tell me that it's still not a well-oiled machine the way you all ran it. But it's changed. So there's some people, I mean, there's new staff, they come in with new ideas and then it's all clunkier and people don't care because it's a county hospital. Who cares? It's not, whenever I do something, for me, the ownership, I take ownership of something. So that was just me, genuinely. So this guy had asked me to go look back, go look at all of the people that you worked with. That allowed me to go back home, I was a teacher back home. So I went there and I talked to the administrators and all of the co-teachers. And I said, could you please tell me how? So they said, you are good at scheduling. I mean, anytime scheduling happened for the year or for the term, they gave me the whole thing and say, here, these are their availabilities, plug it in. And there was no chat GPT. I didn't know Excel at the time, for God's sakes. I had a grid that I worked with and I put everything in. And I would take all of the harder classes in the afternoon or a Friday just before I want to go home. Everybody else needed something. They all needed special concessions. So they did that, and it's like everybody gets everything and you make it fit. So that was the person I did. So those are things they kept telling me, oh, you were good at this, you were good at mediating with people. And, so they told me what I was good at. And I was like, I didn't know I did this. So sometimes you just have to go back into the past and look at all of the things because 90% of the time when you start thinking it by yourself, you think, one, what's the big deal? Everybody else did it. Like, when I was raising my kids and I was thinking, there's a lot of people who came from another continent and came to America and then are raising their kids single-handedly. It's not a big deal. But other people who looked at me saw me as a heroine.
That is a big deal.
Right.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't understand what the big deal is. But they were like, we don't know other people. We know you. So you are the person we are looking up at. And that allowed me to stand tall to say, you know what? Hey, if people think one person thinks highly of you, then you can conquer the world. Because if one person can think like that, it's no big deal to double that audience.
That's amazing. And I think too, you bring up a really good point about so that voice in your head that tells you this is not a big deal. This is actually something I work with my clients on because it's a protector part that pops out from the survival brain that says if you think you're a big deal, you're in danger. And it could be because it wants you to be prepared for the other shoe to drop. Like we can't think things are too good because then if things get bad, then we won't be prepared. So that's one reason that we have that voice that says, just stay small. This is not a big deal. And then another thing is that historically, in particular, women get judged for thinking too much of themselves. But for sure, we learn at a young age when we're little, don't be, my grandma would say, don't get too big for your britches.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this idea that we have something within us that's really unique and special, while some of us may have had some of that cultivated, how you talk about it and how you present it and what you are allowed to think about that is very closely controlled by what your survival system thinks is safe. So if it's afraid you're going to be judged or abandoned, it thinks you're going to get kicked out of the herd and then you're going to get eaten by a predator. It's a very primal response to try and keep yourself from getting too big headed. But I love that you overcame that and you were able to look at just uniquely, you know what? I'm not talking about everybody else. I'm talking about what I can do for people and what I have done for people and what I have done in my own life. And to really own that and stand in that space is such a beautiful, empowering thing. And it's such an example that you set then for your children and for the people that you work with and for your clients. So I'm wondering, I want to ask you a couple of questions here just to wrap things up. I so appreciate everything that you've shared, Munira, and I really hope that somebody out there I know that someone out there listening today has been inspired by what you've shared. So for someone who's listening right now and who can relate to the parts of your story where maybe they're afraid to sound too much like they're bragging about themselves when they talk about what they're good at, or maybe they are feeling like, well, what I do isn't that special, or even if they're not starting a business, there are so many women that are just programmed to think that what they have to offer in the world as a human is not important enough to really offer it. It doesn't make them special. So, what is the one piece of advice? What would you say is the first step that you would recommend to a woman listening today who feels kind of stuck and relates to this sort of imposter feeling or this playing it down feeling that you're describing?
This is a genuine response, right, to our thoughts, because every time somebody tells you something, always say, no, really. We always do that. And it's not women from my culture or your culture, it's women everywhere, and the whole species of women, because we are told that we are told that not we cannot brag. That's one thing. Second thing, see, I was growing up, at 12 I knew how to make rotis, the flatbread that Indians make, right? I knew how to do that. I had to learn when I was 8, and the first one I made was a map literally, and then turned around. So we were told that everyone that you make has to be round. You have to learn how to sew. You learn how to cook everything that you know, especially the samosas, the triangular stuff, and everything. I mean, who does that? Even girls from my daughters don't know how to do that. I mean, they'll say, "Oh, you're here. You can do it for me." So the thing is, why? I mean, they wait for me. I mean, my thing was we couldn't tell our mother, "You're here. You'll do it for." No, sit there. Your mother-in-law is going to talk about all these things. You will come back without a husband. What is going on? They'll send you back home. You cannot shame our family to do this, so this is what we had to do. We had to learn how to sew. We knew how to crochet. We had to do all this. And I grew up in a place where there was 30 flats, like condominium townhomes, if you will. one of these women had something talent that each one had. One sewed, one crocheted, one knitted, one this, so every holiday, like we had summer holidays, we would just go to everybody's house, and it was like Monday you go there, Tuesday you go there, Wednesday you go there, but everybody has to learn this, everybody has to learn how to pray. So we were all rounded girls, and we learned each other's languages, and this was like a whole community. We didn't grow up as one family, raising us. So we had to learn all that. And it was the norm for all women in my culture to learn all of these things. Now you can ask me to do podcasting and, Canva and this and that. And we all are very good at that because that task, multitasking, is also allowed in this thing. So you ask me, these women out there who don't think they're up to par, or they don't feel that it's a big deal. It is a big deal, because look at what you've accomplished. And if you're married, look at the man you married. You are in love, but you've still lived with him, and you've accomplished whatever time frame you had. You have kids, nobody else did, because your kids are your own and nobody can have your kids. So you raised them yourself. You know how to make a souffle. I don't. You know how to bake a cake. I don't. So all of these things play into I have a friend who is really, really a good cook. She'll try all recipes all day and she'll make something really good. And I tell her, when you need somebody to taste, just call me up and feed myself. That's what I say. Because I'm a good cook, but I just do the basic. I don't know how to go out and do gourmet stuff. She does. That's her cliche, right? That's what she does. But the thing is, you are good at your own things. So when I started my journey, I was told, go figure out what you're good at. And I said, how do I do that? He goes, start in the bathroom. And I'm thinking, what are you telling me? And he
That doesn't
goes,
sound appropriate.
right, what are you telling me? He goes, listen, I'm not talking about stuff that you are not doing. Just sit down and take a piece of paper. You know how to brush your teeth, right? You know how to clean the sink. You know how to comb your hair. Do you know how to braid your hair? If anything with braid, do you know how to blow dry your hair, straighten your hair? Do you know all of this stuff? If you know anything with it, take a subject in the bathroom, hair. Can you pin it? Can you braid it? Can you, it's that song. Can you do this? Can you do that? So, it's that thing. So he put that in my head. It goes, anytime you think hair, put it down. So there's a subcategory, hair. What is it that you can do with hair? With teeth, whiten them, floss them, brush them, bathe. Talk about your body. Can you bathe yourself? Can you sponge bath? What can you do in this particular area? If you take a tomato, can you do with it? So think like that. Tell me everything you can do with a tomato. You can do, not anything that can be done. Can you dice it? Can you slice it? I can't slice a tomato. If you can't slice it, then say you don't slice it, but you can dice it. But it has to be what you can do with this particular thing. If you're sitting at a computer, can you switch it on? Can you switch it off? Can you work with it? If there was a troubleshooting thing, can you do it? So you have to start things like that, right? And I was like, this is so easy. I'm going to be done. And he goes, okay, you'll be done. 4 months later, I was still adding to stuff. And literally, I have a wall up there with all of the sheets that were hanging there. My husband was like, what are you doing? And I was like, just figuring out what I'm good at, what I can do. Because that allowed me to think this way. I'm a woman. I can do anything I put my mind to. Number one. If I don't know how to do something, I will learn it. And one thing about the world today, in this world, it's so fantastic. It's called YouTube University.
Yes.
You want to learn how to dice a tomato, go learn it on YouTube University. It's free, people. Go listen. Just go learn stuff. I know how to make ketchup at home, I put that down. Tomatoes, I can make ketchup. That allowed me to see how talented I was. You don't know how to make ketchup. I do. Hey, you want to learn how to make ketchup? I can teach you. Do you know how to crochet? I can teach you. My kids are very, my granddaughters are very, you have to teach us how to crochet. You have to teach us. So my granddaughter who is 8 now, she'll follow me around and say, I know to do this stitch. Now how do I go next stitch? And then you teach her that. And then she goes and does her thing, and then she says, how do I do next thing? Right? So that's how you're building a skill for other people. And if you can do that, if you know something and you can do that for the other person, then you cannot put yourself down, because there is no way anybody else can say you're dumb, because that's not what you are. You are as smart as can be.
I love that. So I love this as an assignment for all of us, for each of us who have been doubting ourselves. Anybody who's listening, I would challenge you to do this, what Munira is talking about, to start with a list. If you're really struggling to feel like anything you do is special, or like you have something to offer, or maybe you have a business and you're not sure that, well, should I be doing this? I'm not the best person at it. There's a bakery on every corner. Start with your list. What is it that you do that you is unique to you, and see if you can convince yourself otherwise. I love that, because also the survival brain needs evidence. So it has programming from the old messages that we got, right? It has from growing up. You should be seen and not heard. You should not be speaking. You should not be exploring other things. You should be well-rounded and learn crocheting and learn cooking, and that's what where your worth is going to be. Not podcasting or, pharmacy tech and all the different stuff that you ended up doing, Manira. But the survival brain needs to be reprogrammed. And so a lot of times it can really help, especially if you're actually actively writing it with your hand. That hits a part of the brain that can be very powerful for reprogramming thoughts. So thank you so much for that. That is a wonderful assignment, and a wonderful first step is just start with a list of the things that you can do and the things that you're really good at, and include things people have complimented you for. I love that too. And so I have two more questions, and then we're gonna bring it to a close. So my next question, and I ask these same last two questions for every guest. My next question is, what is your favorite sort of pump up song, or song that resets you or helps you get back in the mindset that is most productive for you? Because we talk about how the cells of the body will respond to, and particularly your survival system will feel safer when you play music that speaks to you. So this can be a good little survival system reset.
So I love ABBA songs, right?
Yes.
And the one that my go-to song is Money, Money, Money.
I
What's up?
love it.
You know, because it is so amazing. It's like, what are you going to do? If without money, you can't move forward. And we talked about that, right? Because I can't afford it. But the thing is, you have to have just enough to move forward in life. You need one coin, you need one thing to get a loaf of bread to go forward in life. And just that. And that song, it's been my favorite since I was very pretty young. And I go to that song if I have to.
Okay, and final question. If you only have 5 minutes to do self care and you need a little break, what is your go to thing that you do?
I don't have cable at home. So I have the antenna, and I go watch a judge show like a Judge Judy or something like that. Because when you go, Judge Judy she thinks everybody's stupid. She's the smartest person.
She does.
She does, right? But you look at the cases that come in front of all of these judges, and you think, really? You want to air your dirty or laundry? So that allows you to see in comparison what other people are with you and what problems they have that you don't have. And you are so thankful that it's not your problem.
Yes.
I don't know if they do this just because they want to bring in the ratings. I don't know. It just helps me to see that. And my used to be a long time ago, I used to watch Jerry Springer for a few minutes, because Jerry, and you'd see like what other people get themselves into. Well, at least you haven't done that. I haven't done that. So, it allows me to see how, oh my God, this can happen to people too. I am not making a laughing stock. They literally have genuine problems that they come to solve. And especially Judge Judy, if you're coming to court, why didn't you bring evidence? So it's like, hello, you've seen this show for years now. You're coming to the show. Why don't you just bring evidence? To me, that doesn't make sense. But then the fact of the matter is, like, why are we then not looking at previous episodes and seeing what can I do to make my life better, right? So that's my go-to.
I love that. It's a good perspective shift. Yeah.
De-stresses me. And the fact is that, oh, you know what? I'm much more better in this where I am. Yes, it's hard, but I can get out of it.
I love
And
that.
the other thing is that as a woman, I have overcome a lot of things. That would be another episode for another day. But I have overcome a lot of things. You name it, I've done it. Pick any subject. I tell people, pick a subject, I've done it. I've had it happen to me. So I have overcome a lot of things. If I can do this, anybody else.
That's wonderful. That is a great closing note. Thank you so much, Munira. Everyone, I'm just so excited that you got to sit in on my conversation with Munira Zahabi today. And I hope that this has been helpful for you. And I hope that this will inspire you to really take care of yourself on another level and to really stand up for what you need to stand up for and to have the confidence and the courage to move forward, to be visible. I hope you'll go follow Munira. We have all her information in our show notes and get connected with her. And if you have a business and you're interested in going on podcasts, she's great at that and you can connect with her there. Munira, thank you again so much. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Everybody else, take care of yourself, and we will see you here next time.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. I've been humbled and honored.